today's note, what we're going to be looking at is graphing with a point and slope. So just as a review, the formula for slope is rise over run, or the change in y over the change in x, or algebraically y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I want to determine the slope given the following 2 points, I can do it in one of 2 ways. When I'm just given the points, first way I can use my formula, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If I plot these, or if I label these points, x2, y2, x1, y1, plug in these values, 7 minus 4 over 5 minus 2, I get 3 over 3, which simplifies to 1. Another way I can do this, I can use a table, x and y. I'm going to put in my points, 2, 4, 5, 7. From here, I'm going to look at, well, what's the change in my y values? Well, I'm changing by 3 or increasing by 3. Same with from 2 to 5. Rise over run. Rise deals with y, so 3 over the run, which is x. 3 over 3, which is 1. In B, same idea. I'm going to use it in 2 different ways. My algebraic way, where I have x2, y2, x1, y1. And this now becomes 1 minus negative 2 over 4 minus negative 2. Simplifies to 3 over 6, or 1/2. I can do the same table method, and I should still get the same answer. X then y, I'm going to plot my 2 points. And I'm going to see what is the change from one to the other. Well, this is an increase of 3. This is an increase of 6. Rise over run says 3 over 6, or simplifies to 1 over 2. So it doesn't matter which way you choose to do it, whether you use a table or the algebraic formula, you should still be able to get the same slope. So when we're graphing with a point and slope, there's 3 steps we want to follow. The first step is we want to plot the point that we're given. Secondly, we're going to use our slope, which we know is rise over run, to determine other points that are going to be on this line. Once we have other points, we're going to connect all of them and extend our line. So in our first example, we have a slope equal to 3 and the point 1, 0. So the first thing I want to do is plot the 1 point that's given to me. So that means my x value is 1 and the y value is 0. So my point is here. Next, I need to use my slope, or the rise over run, to help me determine other points. Now, because my slope is 3, that means my rise is 3, my run is 1, because any whole number is always over 1 as a fraction. So what that means is, starting from my point, I'm going to run 1 in the positive direction, and I'm going to rise 3. And after I do that, that will give me my next point. Now, I can't go any further to the right, but I can go backwards, and we know our line does continue in both directions. So to go backwards, what I have to do is just do the opposite. So instead of going over 1 and up 3, I'm going to go down 3 and to the left 1. And that's going to plot me my next point. And that's as far as I can go left. I can't continue any further based on this grid. So what I'm going to do now is connect my lines as best as possible, and I'm going to draw arrows on the end to show that it continues on forever. Right. When you're drawing your lines, I'd make sure that you're using a ruler to make sure that it's straight. For B, the slope is negative 2 over 3, and I have the point negative 3, 1. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is plot my point, so negative 3, 1, and now I need to figure out my rise and my run. Well, I know that it's 2 over 3, but the negative is out front, and I'm not sure where it goes. But if we recall back to our fractions unit at the beginning of the year, we talked about if we have a negative fraction, the negative can be either on the top or it can be on the bottom. And basically the difference is just what direction you want to go in. So for right now, because I can only go, my run is either -3 or +3, I'm going to choose the one where it's +3 because I can only go in the right direction right now. So in that case, I'm going to go over 3 in the positive direction and then down 2. And that's going to give me my next point. From here on, and again, I'm going to go over 3, down 2, and plot my next point. Now I've drawn all the points that I can on this grid, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the lines as best as possible. Again, you want to make sure you put the arrows to show that it continues on forever, and to use a ruler when you're drawing your line. Now, realistically, on a test or on a quiz or on the EQAO, whatever it happens to be, if you're asked to draw a line, you don't need to figure out other 2 points. As long as you can draw 2 points and line it up carefully, you should be able to draw your line neatly and smoothly and be able to accurately draw it without having to figure out other points. But if it does ask for you to plot other points as well as draw the line, you do have to go through that extra work. Next example, we're graphing a line given 2 points. So this is very similar, except the only difference is we have one extra step. So our first step, we want to plot the 2 points that were given, and then the next step is to use these 2 points to determine the slope. So the change in y over the change in x, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let me just change that. Or we've talked about it as, again, rise over run. So once we have our slope, we want to use our slope to determine other points on the line, and then we want to connect all our points and extend. So the only difference between this and the other example is that we want to find our slope from the 2 points. So first thing I'm going to do in my example, my points are 2, 3, and 0, -1. I want to plot these points. So 2, 3 means I go over 2, up 3. 0, -1 means I go down just -1. And now there's 2 things I have to do. There's one thing you have to do, which is just finding the slope, but there's 2 ways to go about it. One way, the algebraic way, y2 minus y1 for x2 minus x1. If I label my points, we have -1 minus 3 over 0 minus 2, so -4 over -2, or just 2. The other way you could do this is, because you've already plotted your points, you can find the rise over run from these points. So from one point to the next, you're going right 2 or +2, then you're going up 4, +4, so you know your rise over run is equal to 4 over 2, which simplifies to 2. So now what you can do, you can find the rest of your points. And by using your rise over run, it means we go over 1, up 2 to find our next point, and to go backwards, down 2 to the left 1, down 2 to the left 1, and you can fill in your points there. Now that you have all your points, we can graph our line. So you're basically going to connect all of the points, place arrows at the end to show on it goes on forever, and that's your line. For B, same idea as the last one. We're going to start by plotting our 2 points. So at -2 and 4, and at 3 and -2. And now what we want to do is find our slope so we're able to graph other points. So our slope, or we're going to use the formula, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, x2, y2, x1, y1. So negative 2 minus 4 over 3 minus negative 2. So we have negative 2 over 5. Now we can't simplify that any further. The other way we could look at it is we could look at it by, sorry, not negative 2. It would be negative 6 over 5. Another way we could look at it, though, is we have our 2 points already graphed, so we can use our rise over run. So we're going back 5, or left 5 in the negative direction, and then we're going up 6. So that means our rise over run is 6 over negative 5. So again, because the overall fraction is negative, it doesn't matter which number the negative is on, as long as it's only one of them. Now, we can use our slope to plot other points. However, based on our grid, our scales, we can't graph any other points. So what we're going to do is just connect these 2 points with a straight line and draw arrows on the end to show it continues on forever. So the key thing from this note is just being able to, 1, determine the slope again using 2 points, or if you're already given the slope, understanding what it means, and then being able to plot points and use the slope to find other points on your line. And once you're able to do that, you should be able to graph your line when you're given the slope and a point, or when you're given 2 points.